What would become possible for you if you knew how to eliminate labels imposed on you by others, as well as self-imposed limitations? Welcome to Business Without Barriers, the show bringing you relevant strategies to thrive and succeed in a volatile world, and the show turning barriers into bridges by bringing more of our humanity back into business. I'm your host, Carmen Wild, and opening up her success vault today is Briana Greenspan. Brianna is an accomplished health and wellness coach and brand strategist. She co-authored The Miracle Morning Art of Affirmations with Hal Elrod, a positive coloring book for both kids and adults. She also co-authored the Upcycled Toys Club. That sounds like fun. Brianna was born with a chronic illness that went undiagnosed until she was 23 years old, at which time she decided that the labels and limitations of her medical team did not align with what she believed to be possible for her life. From that point on, everything changed. Her strength journey led to studies in Cranio Sacral Therapy, unified mindfulness, Jewish energy healing, sound healing, and Reiki. She's Permaculture Certified and an Xchange method facilitator. Brianna also has a BA degree that focused on ancient healing techniques. She's known for being a connector of all things related to elevating consciousness and uses her unique strengths and gifts to best support the organizations and charities nearest and dearest to her heart. A very, very warm welcome to you today, Brianna.
Oh, Carmen, thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored.
It's a privilege to have you on the show today. Let's start with you telling us or sharing with us something that you absolutely love doing. What is it that just gives you sheer joy if you do this thing?
You know, I love being in nature. I have this immense curiosity for all living beings and, the ecosystems around us. And so if I just walk outside and I see a beautiful flower or a beautiful tree, or I walk on the beach, or even right outside our house, I just get so filled with joy that there's all of these squirrels and there's lizards and there's birds and there's, all of these other insects and creatures that are all hanging out, like
hanging out.
Yeah. And it just reminds me of the synchronicity and the way that nature lives in harmony with itself. And there's just this beautiful dance that's happening that the squirrels and the birds and all of these creatures that are, doing their thing, they're not taking over and conquering. They're all just living in harmony, doing whatever they're doing. And so it's just a beautiful reminder for me that there's so much more than me and the human race, and that there's so much that I can learn from just stepping outside. And so I love being outside in nature.
Oh, what a fun, beautiful dance with nature. Love it. Love it. Thank you for that. It kind of brought this tree of life into my mind with all these little creatures and fireflies at night. It's just immediately amazing what our mind does, hey, when you paint pictures. What would you say your most cherished success to date is?
My most cherished success to date? Well, I have two, personally or professionally, or one of each.
Give us both. Yay.
Okay, so my most cherished success personally is who I've become. I'll be honest, my childhood was riddled with aggressive challenges. The ability to walk, talk, see, hear, and breathe wasn't guaranteed every day. And so the last 13 years have all been this searching journey of being able to do as many of those 5 together as often as possible. And I mean, even at this moment, I'm just so grateful to be able to walk today, to be able to talk to you right now, to be able to see your beautiful face. And, those aren't things that I have afforded to me every day. And so as I look back on who I was in my childhood and how my 20s really shaped me learning about how I can be my strongest self each and every day. I feel like my illness to wellness journey is my truest success personally.
Wow. Sure.
And professionally, part of that illness to wellness journey has kind of guided me on all the things that I do in my life right now. And professionally, I have been working with a genetic testing lab for the last 6 years, and we have been bringing a new disease to the world. And so I am the exclusive provider of genetic testing for this condition called hereditary alpha tryptosemia. Think all the people with complex chronic illnesses that have EpiPens, that go into anaphylaxis. I serve those people. Sure. And I'm the exclusive provider of service for researchers and physicians across the globe. And so this has been like this huge professional success when the NIH called me and said, hey, I heard that you're a connector girl. We think you might have this condition. But even if you don't, you feel like these people feel. And, we know that you might be the girl to help us validate our research and bring this research to the world if what we've figured out is substantial. And so, going on this journey of coordinating research with the biggest academic institutions in the world. I mean, we just published a paper with Harvard. And so just to be able to validate the NIH, bring their work forward, and be able to really relate to the physicians and the researchers and the patients that I work with, because I get how they feel. Either I'm a patient just like them, or I've been in the space of witnessing doctors that were wanting to serve their patients but didn't know how. And so I have a lot of compassion for those doctors and those researchers who are saying, I want to help. What can we do? I want to figure out the next puzzle piece. How can you help? And so I'm happy to be that girl. And that's using my past narrative of the health challenges that I've had, plus my actual superpower of being a connector and kind of bridging them together. So, my personal and my professional successes kind of blend together.
Talk about an example of turning a barrier into a bridge. I mean, that is like, you're just the absolute epitome of that, and how you've just turned these, what some may see as a curse, into blessings. And it just continues. Now your wellness, your illness to wellness is becoming wellness for others potentially. And that's incredible. So tell us a little bit about this journey, Brianna. For 23 years, you had this undiagnosed condition. And in your own words, it was so severe at times, it hurt to be alive. Those are very strong words. Take us a little bit into that so that we can at least understand what this happened. What was going on?
I mean, it was just such a complicated narrative. I never stopped crying until I could talk. By the time I started talking, I kept saying like, ouchie, bobo, and I'm pointing to bruises. I'm like literally showing my mom all these like little things. And I'd complain about the craziest things. I was so sensitive. So we live in Texas, it's very warm here. And I would constantly say, I'm so cold. It hurts my bones. And Is the girl that wore a sweatshirt in the summer because, when we walked inside from, like, if we went to the grocery store is 70 degrees and outside it's 104. And the sheer difference in temperature would just really jar my body. I had these immense sensitivities. So even things like sheets or the tag in clothing would really bother me. And I'd break out with an allergic reaction. And so my body was just like expressing its discomfort with whatever I was experiencing. And with that, I used to throw up every day. It was not fun. It really hurt my throat. It was just that I had all of these really intense sensitivities to the food that I was consuming, to the environment that I was in, to what I was wearing, to so many things that we just didn't understand. And the doctors kept saying, here's another medication, here's another label. But none of those labels really were all encompassing to explain what I was experiencing. And so it was just specialist to specialist. The rheumatologist said this, the podiatrist said this, the orthopedist said this, and all of these doctors had a label and had a medication and had an assistive device. So by the time I was 11, I had like a full back brace. Like it went from the top of my back all the way down my leg. And I walked with a limp, not because I had one, but because they put this metal bar on the brace so that it would supposedly fuse my spine, because they had identified that I had this intense fracture situation in my spine. And when I say it hurts to be alive, or it hurts to move, when I would take a breath, I just felt like someone was stabbing me everywhere. And it was just like this immense, like, what was going to happen next? And because there were so many challenges, each and every day I'd have 50 to 200 episodes. And so in an hour, there would be so many challenges. Oh, am I going to dislocate something? Am I going to throw up? Am I going to throw up and then dislocate something? Like, how do I put my rib back in right after? And so there was just this like myriad of like confusion and a lot of hopelessness and despair, because each doctor was saying like, here's another drug, here's another assistive device, here's another label. But none of the labels were helpful. None of the medications took the issues away. None of the assistive devices really helped me to become stronger. And so I was just like going through the motions for so many years, seeing all these doctors, the best doctors we could find. I grew up in Houston. It has one of the best medical centers in the country. Yet they couldn't use their critical thinking skills to say, hey, the thing that she's experiencing here, and the thing that she's experiencing here, and the things that she's experiencing here paint a bigger picture. Those are all puzzle pieces in something that we should have seen, but we missed. And so that's just a lot to say. There were just a variety of challenges, and because this is a genetic condition, and it's a progressive genetic condition or series of conditions. What my mom experiences, what she was experiencing in her 30s, I was experiencing, by 5 or 6. What she was experiencing in her 40s, I was experiencing in my teens, and so on and so forth. And so we've always had this interesting bond where she would butt in to talk to every single specialist about some similar but different issue. And we both knew there was something going on. We knew that we didn't heal as well. We knew that we struggled a lot. We knew that we, had this complex health narrative, but we weren't able to really connect the dots. And as a result, there was just a lot of anxiety surrounding what symptom is going to come next. How can I prepare if I'm so unprepared? And, when will I ever find out more about what I'm experiencing, and will it ever go away? And those were like, the plaguing questions, which the last 13 years have just been drastically different, because I really showed up in a different vein, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But I hope that answers your question.
Wow. So just want to check, are you saying you and your mom have the same condition? Oh, my word. Okay. So at what stage, how old were you when you decided that, okay, enough of these labels and limitations, this is not what you believe possible for your life? What was the age that popped into your mind?
So it's actually kind of a crazy one, because when I was 20, I lost the ability to walk after a failed L5-S1 fusion surgery. And I kind of had this spiritual awakening, as I call it, because I was in college. I was a sophomore in college, and I was really fighting with my neurosurgeon, and I was saying, the drugs aren't working. You keep giving me more drugs. And then they're like, here's a handicap placard, here's a wheelchair, here's a this and a that. And I kept saying, there's something wrong. Things are worse than ever before. Like before, at least I could take steps, even if it was horrific. Now I'm in a completely different vein. This was like new territory. I knew, my intuition was saying there is something wrong. And everyone around me was saying, here's more drugs. You're not, taking good care of yourself. And I kept saying, there's more to this story. I just need to uncover it. And then I had a traumatic experience where my college best friend OD'd and died. Oh. The night that I left college to go see the neurosurgeon. And so I get this phone call. I'm at my parents' house in Texas. I get this phone call from my roommate, and he says, "Our friend has just passed away." And something like a light bulb went off inside of me that said, drugs are not the answer. If you do not find something that's going to serve you at the highest level, you're going to be next. Because at that point I was taking between 40 to 100 medication, like 40 to 100 pills a day, because they were saying, yeah, it's like 5 or 6 doses a day, like every 2 hours or every 4 hours. And there was all of this like breakfast and this and that. And like every doctor, you know, I was seeing like 25 specialists, and each of them had some magic pill that they thought was going to like answer the situation. But a lot of those things counteracted with each other, just caused a huge myriad of problems. And so the next day I go to the neurosurgeon, and he says, "You're a medical anomaly. We don't know why the surgery didn't work. Here's some medication and an assistive device until we can figure it out." And something inside of me snapped. And I said, "Couldn't these drugs kill me?" And he said, "No, honey, these drugs are made for you. This is medication. It's supposed to help you with the challenges that you're complaining about. You know, you're really in a bad spot, and we'd like to figure this out. This is a support for you." And I said, "My friend just passed away from these medications. Couldn't they also harm me?" And right then, I just had this light bulb that went off that said, you need to be your own advocate, and you need to find whatever is going to support you. And so I left college. I went through a 378-hour therapy program where the whole goal was for me to learn how to walk up a flight of stairs. And this therapist, it was 9 hours a day, every day for 6 weeks. And he said, "You can't take any medication." So I was taking a shot at that point to rebuild bone. I was taking all these medications. And he said, "You can't take any of these medications because I need to know where the pain is." So that was really the most tumultuous experience, because I'd never really felt what I was experiencing. I'd felt what I was experiencing with the mask of medications. But because I was so heavily medicated from like 5 years old on, you know, I didn't even know what a conscious lifestyle was. And so this therapy of aqua therapy, physical therapy, myofascial release, and cranio sacral therapy every day for 9 hours, with the goal of being able to walk up a flight of stairs. This was the moment where I said, you know, whatever is going on, whatever narrative that I'm hearing doesn't define me. And I didn't come to this on my own. I have to give all the credit to this therapist, because the first day that we were going to work together, he took me aside and he said, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you without your parents. And I need to really check in with you. And he said, "Do you believe that anything is out there that can help?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. I really do." And he said, "If you really believe that, do you believe that this thing that we're going to try might be the answer?" And I said, "Absolutely not. Like, there's no way that you're going to be able to help me with the experience that I'm having." And I was in such a state of hopelessness. And I was actually like really standoffish and not really so like gung-ho, if you will. And he said, "Has it ever occurred to you that you're already dismissing each practice based on the limiting beliefs of your past? The outcomes that you have, the shortcomings of the outcomes that you did not receive of your past experiences, and you're already writing off what you're being introduced to before you ever give it a shot." And this was like a wow. This was a huge eye-opener, because I had never thought that I was bringing the baggage from all the therapies and all the modalities that didn't work into what was to come. And so I was so grateful for him calling attention to this concept. And as a result, he said, "I might not be the thing that helps you. But if you truly believe that something is out there, I want you to look at every therapy that you engage in through the mindset of this might be the thing. that helps me take a step or helps me take a deep breath and not feel like someone's harming you. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm so grateful for him. And it wasn't, the end of that story is after 6 weeks, I was able to walk. And originally that therapy program was supposed to be 3 weeks. We needed to extend it because I was really so deconditioned. And at the end, I was able to take steps and not feel like someone was harming me. And that was really the beginning of me no longer taking pharmaceutical medications. That was the beginning of me searching for so many modalities to add to my toolkit. That was the beginning of, my new life, so to speak. Yeah. And it was really validating because 3 years later, I was given the label for what encompassed what I experienced. But I was already so far into labels don't define me. I'm going to find the practices to serve me. So I was already years before really I had that shift. And so that...
Wow, what an angelic catalyst that walked right into your life and has shifted, moved your planets, actually. That's just incredible. And it's amazing when we get into our darkest moments that these angels appear. However, we have to be willing to listen. And he was almost calling you out there in terms of, there's something there. There's more than this.
He was calling me out.
Yeah.
Very aggressively. And I was like, who are you? And I really had to take a pause and recognize that when we're in need, exactly what you just said, those angels will appear. And if we are our own worst enemy, we're going to reject, repel, and push away the supports that were literally gifted to us to serve us in that time. So
Totally. Brianna, give us an idea of what exactly shifted for you through this. What did you see happening in those 3 years afterwards?
Oh, yeah. Well, I saw myself recognizing that I can do hard things. I saw myself knowing that there was more possibilities out there than I had ever possibly imagined. And, when we talk about angels and we talk about blessings and we talk about the serendipitousness of how the universe is serving up all that you need on a silver platter, if we were to only pay attention. Right after I learned to walk again, my father said, amazing, you can walk. You should get a job. Right then, the next day. And it was kind of like a funny joke now because he was just saying okay, next step, we accomplished this. This has been a huge check plus. And, there were so many, I'll back up for a moment and say there were so many ripple effects of these practices that really served me. What I learned is that Cranio Sacral Therapy also helped to calm my gut. So I was no longer having these aggressive throwing up episodes so many times a day. And I became shocked and now we actually count. My dad and I have this tracker and we count how many times I throw up a year because the amount of times I throw up in a week when I was 18 is the amount of times I throw up in a year now. Sure. And it's these things still happen, but the amount of them is so diminished because of all of these practices that I'm engaging in. And so the next angel that came into my life was Hal Elrod. And it was, he came into my life because I got this job working for Cutco Cutlery. And in my first month, I broke a national record and I had just relearned to walk again. And I had all this enthusiasm and I was so excited and also actually pretty talented. What I learned is that I'm not a salesperson, but what I am is a super enthusiastic cheerleader for people. I love people and I love hearing people's stories and I love hearing what they're up to and I love connecting dots. And so with Cutco, I got to meet all these cool people and hear their stories and then connect this person to this person. And it was a fun playground. And soon enough, I actually made a name for myself. I broke a national record and I got this phone call from a guy named Hal Elrod. And he said, hey, I heard you learned to walk again. I learned to walk again. I think that I could teach you a lot. I think that we'd be good friends. And I thought, oh my gosh, I know exactly who you are, because I had read his book, Taking Life Head On, which was amazing. He had been hit head on by a drunk driver and he died at the scene. After 6 minutes, they were able to revive him. He was on life support. He was in a coma. And when he woke up from the coma, they said, you'll never walk again. And he said, respectfully, I disagree. And they said, it's ridiculous. And they said, you're not they went to his parents and said that he wasn't understanding the severity of his issues. He was just like in denial. And he said, no, I'm not in denial. If I'll be in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I'm going to be the happiest guy in a wheelchair ever. But don't tell me the day I wake up from a coma that it's my only option. At least let me try and walk. And if I fail, I fail. And from there, 6 weeks later, he took his first step. 2 months later, he was fully walking. He went on to run a 52-mile double marathon, write a book about it. So I knew exactly who this guy was. And he was a huge inspiration to me, because I was literally like weeks off learning. Like 5 weeks ago, I had taken my first step and hadn't felt like someone was physically harming me. And so I was so close to my learning to walk journey that I really respected him. And one day he called me and he said, I'd like you to wake up earlier than you normally would and care about yourself. I gave him so much pushback. And I said something like, do you understand what it's like to wake up every single day? I don't know how I'm going to sleep, if I've dislocated something, if I had a seizure, if I threw up, what's going on. Every single day is different. And he said, what if you showed up to your morning differently? And that changed the outcomes that you had. And I gave him a little pushback, but also there was this curiosity that was sparked in me because I had such admiration for him. And he said, I'd like you to do something called The Miracle Morning. And that is now an international best-selling book. It's a movement. I'm now a co-author. My story is featured in his documentary. I've been the advisor for the brand for the last 13 years. And what really, for me, what was so incredibly impactful was learning that there were more things that I could add to my toolkit. At that point, I had physical therapy. I had aqua therapy. I had that mindset shift already of knowing that I was not going to dismiss things before I'd ever tried them. I had Cranio Sacral Therapy. I had, myofascial release. But when he brought mindfulness and meditation, affirmations, visualization, visualizing the success of my day, vision boards. This was all like very foreign territory for me. Exercising, reading, journaling, all of these practices became like a North Star for me. And they really were at the beginning of me expanding my toolkit, if you will, and realizing that there were so many modalities out there that could serve me at the highest level. And so I just became this lifelong learner and started like literally searching for anything that I could find that would help me shorten the duration of a symptom or eliminate a symptom, because there were so many symptoms that were still happening. Even though I could walk, and even though I had this positive mindset shift, and even though I was eliminating medications, there was still just a lot going on. And when I realized that I could put myself in the driver's seat of my own life by figuring out what modalities were out there, then I learned that there were thousands of different rituals, habits, modalities. It was like a light bulb. Like, where was this in school? And
exactly.
And so that just kind of was the spark that I needed to go on this journey. And so 3 years later, when I was finally, given my first real diagnosis, if you will, I had already had a robust toolkit of practices that I knew. Oh, if this is happening, do this. If you're experiencing this, look to this, call this person. And I started finding mentors, teachers, therapists, all of these amazing people. The universe just started sending these angels my way. Instead of repelling them and saying, nothing will ever work, I was saying, yes, teach me what you have to offer. And that was really the shift, me welcoming in all these people the universe was sending my way. And, so I could go on, but these practices really just served me at such a high level and are continuing to serve me at such a high level because, with chronic illness, it doesn't go away, but the way that we respond can shift.
Yes. So by the time that you were diagnosed, which just maybe tell us a little bit about, or just tell us what the name of what was the diagnosis finally when you got it?
Yeah. So the first diagnosis was something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a connective tissue disorder that affects the collagen in your body. So that's where the dislocations come from. That's where the widespread chronic pain and the bruising and the temperature intolerance and a lot of other challenges. And then we realized that that there were some comorbidities that went with that. And one is a type of dysautonomia. It's basically a dysregulation of your autonomic nervous system. So that's when I started learning, what does it mean to regulate my autonomic nervous system? Hence biofeedback, neurofeedback, coherence, breathing, Heart Math Institute practices. So many things are out there to serve once I had a label. And then, you know, they call it something called mast cell activation syndrome. And that's like the hives, the allergic reactions. That was what was happening in my gut. I was having these allergic reactions to certain things that my body was saying, no, thank you. And, you know, and now I learned that it's a lot of people have all these things together.
So what's interesting, two things that I'd love you to comment on is, on the one hand, the label no longer mattered because you had found a way to deal or to actually eliminate those labels, because the labels at first were debilitating. But by the same token, when you did get the labels, you were then able to handle it in a way that would be so profoundly positive for you. So you could use, on the one hand, stuff it doesn't belong to me. I'm not going to associate with the label, but I am going to utilize it to further heal myself. That's incredible, because I mean, one of my pet hates of the medical industry is labeling people, and then they associate with it, and it becomes a life sentence for them, and they literally live to the day the doctor tells them they only have X amount. You feel the same way?
You are speaking my language. Thank you so much for picking up on that, Carmen. It is so okay. So I'm going to go back and say that when I got these labels, it was like a breath of fresh air. I felt seen. I felt heard. I felt validated for the first time. And I immediately knew that I could not sit in the space of complacency that many sit in, because they cling to their label because they're not seen, heard, and validated by those around them. And for me, what I recognized, and what I now recognize in many of the people that I work with, what I impress upon the physicians and researchers that I work with, what I hear from many of the patients, is that the moment that they were able to get their label, depending upon their mindset, it's the moment that they say, I now have the validation that I need to step into my wellness journey. But if you sit in the space of, let me own the illness like a badge of honor. I have X. I can't X because of X. When you sit in that space, what happens is that you give all your power away. And so that's why I created the Miracle Morning Art of Affirmations. It was a tool for myself, literally, so that I could remember who I chose to be, what I was committed to. And so I started putting these affirmations all across, like on my mirror, my locker, my desk, my wall, my office, because I wanted my subconscious to remember that these labels did not define me, that they were a support system, that they were going to give me the validation that I needed to go on this journey. And so I started, meeting so many other people with these conditions. And then I noticed this theme, exactly what you were saying. People own these labels. They hold them like a badge of honor so pridefully that they're not willing to hop onto the other side of that and do the work that's needed. Having a chronic illness and managing it effectively is a lot of work. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And it's a lot of work, not only on us, but on those around us, caregivers, providers, etc. But it's meaningful, enriching work that when you do the work, you have no idea what's possible for your life and how you can beautifully contribute in so many ways. Mm-hmm. But if we just sit there and say, let's Netflix and chill because I dislocated my whatever, I was on a podcast recently and I had a seizure, and then I was supposed to have this like pre-interview with this woman, and I just prefaced it about an hour later. But I did all the things that I needed to do to be able to talk, to be able to think, to be able to breathe. And so I hopped on the phone with her and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm not in my same like vibration that I normally am. I just had a little episode, but I'm better. And she and I had this chat about all the ways that you can let yourself off the hook and you can put yourself on the sidelines if you choose to. Yeah. And I used to live on the sidelines. Like when I broke this record at Cutco, they gave me an award. This is the first award I ever won in my whole life because I was never on any team. I was never chosen for anything because either the, PE teacher or the, coach or the whatever put me on the sidelines, or I put myself on the sidelines scared of what may come. And so it wasn't until my 20s that I even recognized that I was a sideline kid and that I could put myself anywhere I wanted. And so,
it's just incredible, Brianna. I just want to dig into your mind. You've got a beautiful mind. So give us a little bit about the practical side of it. So you flip and have an episode, and then you are controlling things and going into recovery mode automatically almost. It's like you've almost got something that just goes off immediately when things happen, and minutes later or an hour later, you're ready for a flippant podcast and you're like, here I am. I've just had an episode, but I'm not necessarily at the same vibration, but I'm here. I'm flipping here. I mean, that's remarkable. So give us a few of the practices that work for you. Share some things with us that people listening, watching this could try.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for mentioning that. That's when I talk about at the beginning, when you said like, what's your biggest success? That's it. Because years ago, I would have if this was 20 years ago, one, I would have never been on a podcast. I would have never used my voice. Two, I would have let the episode knock me down. And then another episode would happen and I would stay down. And then another episode would happen and then I would stay down. And then the rest of the day would happen. And then the next day was a spiral. And it was just this continuous cycle. So the first thing that I will say is get very clear on what your intuition is telling you. Because when I have an episode, I drop into my intuition and I ask myself, what do I need right now? What's going to serve me at the highest level? Do I need to rest right now? Do I need to get some water? Do I need to breathe? Do I need to take myself outside and have some fresh air? Do I need a blanket? Am I shivering uncontrollably? Like, what is the thing? And then I ask myself, what is the thing that's going to move me to the next thing? Sometimes I'll have an episode and my body will be uncontrollably shaking. But if I put a sweatshirt on, then I'm capable of taking a deep breath. And then I'm capable of having some water. And then I'm capable of, and so you want to be in a positive spiral. What's the thing, the little thing that's going to help you in that exact moment? And a lot of the time it's free, easy, readily available. Breath is like the easiest thing that we can drop into. But oftentimes we're like choking ourselves. But like what I noticed when I was younger is that I'd have an episode and then I would panic about having the episode. And then I would actually like change my breathing pattern to intensify the thing that I did not want to happen, because nobody ever taught me what was possible, what was actually possible. And so, just asking yourself, what do you need right now? What is going to serve you at the highest level in this moment? And then whatever that thing is, take action. Sometimes I really need some electrolytes. I'm having these crazy episodes, but I'm not even strong enough to hold a cup. And so what does that look like? Get a straw. Sometimes This is super serious. Like, oh my gosh, I used to make myself so much worse because I would say, oh, I can't hold it, or I need two hands, or the cup is too heavy, or whatever that was. And so I started figuring out, what do I need to support myself? What do I need from others to support me? If I text my fiance and say, I need help, please get me a straw, he knows that I'm like probably incapable of holding a cup right now, but that I need water or something really detrimental will happen. I will go into a negative spiral. And so they can be the littlest things that can serve you at the highest level. But that's like pro tip number 1. Drop into your intuition and ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? And sometimes for me, it's like, oh, you need to rest for an hour. And, when I asked myself that, it wasn't a podcast interview, it was the pre-interview. And so I told this woman, like, hey, my energy's a little off. And she was like, by the end, she was like, you're great. I can't believe that you just had an episode and then you did what you needed to do. And I said, the worst that would have happened is I had listened to my body, and my body had said, you need a little bit more time for yourself. And I would have just canceled the pre-interview. Like, what's the worst that happens? We reschedule for next Tuesday. Who cares? And so when you get out of your own head about what will other people think, or, oh no, like, are they going to not, respond well to you caring for yourself? Well, what would it look like for us to respond well to caring for ourselves? And so that's my number 1 tip. Just drop into your intuition and figure out what is the littlest thing that you can do that will put you on a positive spiral immediately.
What a great trip. I said tip, I meant to say. But maybe it can take you on a trip. What's incredible about what you're saying, Brianna, and I just want to make the point around this. The tips you're sharing is not just if we're in deep physical pain or going through physical traumas. These kind of things are needed when we're having a sad moment, having an angry moment, having a little bit of a depressed day or a down day, or our head is getting in the way. This could be a business challenge we have on a particular moment or day or month or whatever it is, and it is get clear on what your intuition is telling you, because even in every single situation, this applies. So it's a profound principle to live by, because our intuition tells us, but we've got to listen and we've got to ask. Yeah, exactly. I love that. How do you start your day? So I know you do Clubhouse, you've got this session first thing every single morning. Is that how you start with the community, or do you do something before that?
Okay. Oh, I definitely do something before that. And I love that you mentioned Clubhouse, because I'm just in the unmasking and unmuting phase of my journey. For so long, I haven't shared my story or spoken on podcasts. Even like 15 weeks ago, that was something I never did. I wouldn't speak on a Zoom call or in a meeting or a podcast or really any setting that was over 4 people. And that was because of this limiting belief narrative that I have from my childhood. And so I love that you mentioned my daily show on Clubhouse, because it's such an unfolding for me about who I'm becoming. And I will say that my morning starts with me. It does not start with other people. And it starts the moment I wake up. I just think to myself, oh, I'm so grateful I woke up today. Because the truth is, a lot of people didn't. And I, never know, based on what I experience, when it will be my last day. And so I'm just super grateful every single day that I wake up. And then I start thinking about other things that I'm grateful for. And then I say some prayers. And then I sit quietly. I turn on something called binaural beats to 532 hertz and just listen to these like beautiful vibrations. Sometimes I'm looking out the window. Sometimes I'm on the balcony. Sometimes I'm just like sitting inside if I'm cold. And then I ask myself, what do I need to do right now that's going to serve me at the highest level? That question is so important to ask ourselves on a regular basis, not just when we're struggling, but all the time, to guide us. And so I do the Miracle Morning each and every day, which stands for silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. But I mean, if you just notice, those are some pretty big categories. And so, like, what am I doing in those things shifts each day. Sometimes if my heart is a little bit off during my silence, I'll do some breath work if that's what I'm needing. Sometimes that's a meditation. Sometimes that's going on this like mindful walk and listening to the birds outside. So it's different depending upon what the answer is when I ask myself, what do I need in this moment? Sometimes my body's like really struggling. So I'll do some specific physical therapy practices that serve, like if I've just had a seizure, I will do a lot of neck work to support my neck. If, depending upon what's going on, I will answer that call. And sometimes that's going to the gym. Sometimes that's doing some stretching. Sometimes that's some physical therapy. Sometimes that's a walk on the beach. Whatever that looks like, each and every day is a little different. And in the sense, my morning routine is very varied, yet my morning routine is very concrete in the sense that I am making sure that no matter what, I'm giving myself at least 30 minutes every day, no matter what, non-negotiable. Sometimes that's longer. Sometimes it's an hour. Sometimes it's an hour and a half. Sometimes I want to like listen to an audiobook for 20 minutes. Sometimes I want to watch a TED talk afterwards. Sometimes my fiance will join me and then he says, let's do some breath work and then go on this beach walk. But I've already meditated. So, then I'm like double dipping. It just depends, but making sure that it's a non-negotiable, that I'm giving myself some time and space to fill up my own cup, if I will, before I go out and serve those that I love and those that I lead. And then at 7 a.m., I host a daily Clubhouse show called The Miracle Morning. And so we're literally crowdsourcing wisdom from other people. We're doing deep dives into what practices are you engaging in. So today was all about silence, and we talked about breath work and meditation and presence and, all of the different practices that people are engaging in to serve them, which are very different for many people. And they're very different depending upon what day of the week it is. If they ask themselves, what do I need? The answer shifts. And so I definitely serve myself first before hopping on Clubhouse.
What I'm hearing you saying, Brianna, is everything is around this narrative. So there's a narrative going on in our minds constantly. And what you've done is your practice has become, from the moment you open your eyes, you are already almost moving the narrative in the direction you want to go in the day. So how important is the role of our words in then shaping our future? How important is that?
It's the most important. The things that we say to ourselves, what we are hearing on a feedback loop in our subconscious is the most important thing. If you're thinking today's going to suck, that person, I'm going to do terribly on this presentation. Oh my gosh, I'm going to bomb that, whatever. How do you think that's serving you? And if we aren't catching ourselves in that conversation and saying, no, actually, today's going to be amazing. And here's why. And it's not just like saying things that aren't true, but it's saying things that are framed in a positive way, coupled with an action. Because like affirmations are really just not true statements unless they're coupled with the action. It's having unwavering faith, but putting forth extraordinary effort. And so when I say, I am ready and committed to make this my best year ever, then I ask myself, what am I actually ready and committed to do today to make it my best year ever? What are the action steps that I need to take? And when am I going to take them? Like, is that a mindset shift? Is that, reminding myself that I can do hard things when I, say, oh no, I can't do that. And so your conversation in your own head is probably the most important conversation you're going to have all day. It's the one that you're hearing the most often. It's often the one that is the most negative at times. And so, like, for instance, for people who are listening to this, think about what you've said to yourself in the last hour, or catch yourself in the next hour after you've heard this, and think, would you have ever said to Carmen or Brianna what you just said to yourself? like really, that's the true test. Would you ever say out loud or to someone else the horrific things that are running on repeat in your own head? I will just say that this one last thing about subconscious thinking, you need to read or say something 10,000 times in order to create a new neural pathway to shift your subconscious thinking. And so if we are constantly on a negative feedback loop, we're actually reinforcing what we don't want to happen in our lives. And so when we shift that narrative and we start talking not only positively to ourselves, but we take massive action on the things that we're saying, we'll start to see massive shifts in our life. And so I am a huge believer of changing the conversation in our head to one that is not focusing on limitations, but focusing on possibilities. Anytime I have an episode, I ask myself, what can I do despite what I can't do? It's not about, oh no, what can't I do? And, you know, if I can't stand up, but I can take a deep breath, if I can send a text message to someone asking for support, what is that thing I can do despite what I can't do? If we just focus on what we can't do, we'll never get to the moment of what we can do and then take action, which is the thing that's really needed.
I love how you've put into perspective the whole thing on affirmations, because so many people feel exactly that. But am I lying to myself? You know, am I just making these statements up? But you've added the most important part to it. It's a positive statement followed through with this action, and it's action today. So it's these little steps that will take you to that place. Such a big shift in the way in which you've created that perspective around affirmations. If you look at everything that you know for yourself, what you've seen, what you've witnessed with other people through your work, what has this taught you about the power of the mind and the power of the human spirit?
We are so resilient and we are so incredibly capable. We have no idea how capable we truly are. Like, I have no idea what is going to be possible for me in a year from now because I'm putting one foot in front of the other. And so that, you know, in a nutshell, just the power of resiliency and the power of possibility when we step out of that space of limiting beliefs.
That's so incredible that you've experienced it. And in spite of, maybe, would you change your illness? If you could go,
oh my goodness.
If you could go back and undo it, would you do that?
Oh my gosh, I love you so much. So first of all, the answer is no. And second of all, I just finished writing a book with Dr. Gregory Stock, who wrote the Book of Questions. And we wrote a book called Book of Questions. Yeah, Dr. Gregory Stock. And so we wrote a book called The Book of Questions When Healthcare Fails for Those Who Are Chronically Ill. And the first question is, if you could go back to the time where your illness began and you could eliminate it for your present and future, but you'd also eliminate all the insights and the gifts that you've received from it, would you and why? I love that you asked that. And the truth is, no, I wouldn't. Because the resiliency that I've been given, the strength that I've been given, the journey of being able to find so many modalities that not only exactly what you said, it's not just for people who are chronically ill, but a lot of these modalities apply to everybody at all times. But I don't know when I would have discovered them, if I would have even discovered them, had I not had the real need in that time. And so, and not only that, now the things that I've experienced, I help thousands and thousands of doctors, researchers, and patients a year to shorten the duration of their challenges or to better serve their patients because of what I've experienced. And I've been able to receive so many lessons, so many blessings, so many insights that no, despite the challenges, I would not change it. And quite frankly, now that we're in this global pandemic situation, I see that I have so many tools to support myself. I was made for this moment. When things are challenging, pass me the ball. It's like, this is the time to tee me up, because I have been primed my whole life. And I never saw it as a gift until I recognized what a gift it was. And then I was like, not only shocked, but really dumbfounded by how I'd been so negative about the thing that has given me so many positive advantages in life. Right now, the resilience that I have is exactly what all these people with easy lives are trying to develop. And I've been sharpening that blade for a long time. So no, I would not change that.
Brianna, you are just an infectious, beautiful ball of magical energy. I just want to remind everyone listening to this and watching, Brianna still has this condition. Okay, we're listening. I mean, she speaks as if all this is a thing of her past. She still goes through a ton of difficult experiences, but you're such an incredible, beautiful example of what's possible. And thank you. Thank you for what you bring, for being on, just blessing us with this hour, because so many of us allow these little things, the minutiae, to get to us. And we have all this power within us to turn it around. And then there are also those people who've been through tragic, horrible, heinous stuff. And they need to hear this, because they too have the power to turn this around. Wow, you've given me goosebumps lots in the last little while.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's such an honor to spend time with you. You're such an inspiration to me. And so I love to be able to share and support your community.
Wow. And to think that you weren't vocal just a little while ago. Thank God you've become vocal. Let's just talk about that, because a lot of people are still behind the scenes, and they choose to be behind the scenes. They have these gifts and talents and experiences and things that they should be sharing with the world. Since you've chosen to go vocal, what has shifted? I mean, how big a shift is that for you?
Oh my gosh, everything has shifted. It's totally crazy, because just in November, like, I was the girl that people would ask me to sit. They're like, oh, you have such a great story. Will you share on this Zoom call? And I'm like, no, but so-and-so's story is even better. You should call on her. And I was like the deflector and like the raiser. I would raise up other people that were extraordinary all around me. But what I learned is that there's a balance. I can still raise up those that I love and support so many people around me, but not at the detriment to shining my own light. And not at the detriment to hiding behind me saying, oh, I don't want to speak. I don't want to share. I don't want to contribute. I'm happy to just be the behind the scenes advisor, supporter. I'm happy to have you take the spotlight. But what I learned is that we are all meant to unmask ourselves and unmute ourselves and not allow for these narratives from our past to define the way that we show up today. And so, so much has shifted. I've met you. I've met so many other beautiful individuals, and I've been able to serve at such a high level. We have, a show for hundreds of people every day. And I'm constantly hearing that a lot of the people in this in this space feel home, are finding kindred spirits, are connecting offline, are supporting each other's charities, are going and meeting each other in real life. And the ripple effect is all because I said yes to using my voice. And so I'm really inspired and empowered to continue to not shy away from the things that make me uncomfortable, knowing that it's in that discomfort that I grow.
You're all about elevating consciousness, and this is exactly what you're doing now. By allowing yourself to say yes, putting your hand up, being vocal, sharing with so many now, you are one person at a time, elevating consciousness. And what do you believe would shift in our world if we could all just open up, share? Because what we're also speaking about here is tapping into who we are as humans, just sharing our stories, being there, tapping into our power, helping each other tap in. How will our world change if we could just all be this beacon of light, elevating consciousness every single day?
If we all tapped into our true potential, what would happen is the lower states of consciousness, the shame, the guilt, the fear, the apathy, would drift away. And these higher states of consciousness that we're all seeking. And if you're not familiar with states of consciousness, you can look up David Hawkins' work. You could just Google power versus force chart. It'll blow your mind. And you could recognize, where are you? Where are you sitting most often? Is the conversation in your head putting you in a shame spiral or putting you in this attitude of gratitude? Are you radiating love to the world? And when we use our voice, not just because we want to talk, but because we have a powerful message to share, that is the time that we are able to elevate the consciousness of humanity. And it is one person at a time shining their light. What's so beautiful, my favorite analogy is that my light isn't diminished by me activating your light. Mm-hmm. It's like a candle. The candle doesn't burn. It's not dimmer because I've now lit another candle. Mm-hmm. And that's really the true possibility within each of us, because the moment, I have an affirmation and then I'll share. An affirmation that I love is, the greatest gift I can give to others is to fulfill my potential so that I can show them how to fulfill theirs. The greatest gift I can give to others is to fulfill my potential so that I can show them how to fulfill theirs. And the moment that every single person that's listening to this fulfills their potential, that's the moment that the people in your circles of influence take note. It's the moment that you activate those people that are around you to fulfill their potential. And the ripple effects of just one individual fulfilling their potential can light the dark world.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. We haven't had a chance yet to speak about your book. So let's just share, because it's gorgeous. I mean, just maybe just explain what it is, and then I'll have the links in the show notes.
Yeah, I would love to. The Miracle Morning Art of Affirmations is a positive coloring book for adults and kids. That's really it's really a positive psychology workbook that we disguised as a coloring book. And the whole idea is, one, for you to sharpen the 3 attention skills that you develop in a mindfulness practice. And those are sensory clarity, equanimity, and concentration power. Not only do you feel all of those things and you're developing and sharpening those skills when you are coloring, but you're also shifting your subconscious thinking when you are seeing these affirmations. So the whole point of the book is for you to tear it out. It's not about the coloring. We often say it's not about the coloring. It's about what happens next. We want you to tear it out. We want you to put it on your mirror, put it in your office, put it on your desk, put it on your vision board, making sure that you are placing these affirmations in high traffic areas so that not only you, but those that you live with, their subconscious is seeing it. And when you have affirmations like, I am creating the life of my dreams, or I believe in my potential, not in my past, or I am where I am because of who I was, but where I go depends entirely on who I choose to be. I ask myself the question of, who do I choose to be in this moment when I see that affirmation? Or what is it about my past that I need to let go of so that I can step into this new space of potential? My future potential is waiting for me, but it's not going to be figured out until I let go of that past. And so all of these affirmations are supposed to be reminders of the sensory clarity, equanimity, and concentration power that we are sharpening or developing when we're coloring, but also to be the catalyst for us shifting our subconscious thinking. And the whole thing is meant for families to do together. So there's a whole adult section, there's a mindfulness section, there's a kids section. And we say that this is a beautiful tool for families to be able to create a structured morning routine together. And so for kids, we have a different acronym. It's called CHARMS. It's adorable. It stands for creativity, health, affirmations, reading, meditation, and service. And so parents can be doing savers, kids can be doing charms. You can do a lot of those together. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to model to your children instead of saying, mommy's busy, she's meditating, can you come back in 5 minutes, to invite them in. This is silence time. Would you like to be mindful with me? And having this opportunity to create a beautiful example, a beautiful memory, and a beautiful lesson about how rituals can really serve us at the highest level. So in it, there's what we call the charms tracker. It's my favorite page in the whole book, because if you color it, then laminate it and put it on your fridge. Your kids each and every day can check off, I did something creative. I did something healthy. I said my affirmations. I meditated with mommy. I exercised, et cetera, et cetera. And when they're doing that on repeat, rinse and repeat, recognizing how they feel when they do that, they're going to be in such a powerful and profound, coherent state that it's going to change everything about your family dynamic. It's going to change the way that they are experiencing emotions, experiencing the challenging things. It's going to build that resilience and grit. And so I created it for myself and for those who I mentor with chronic and terminal illnesses, for them to shift their subconscious thinking. But then we kind of brought it to the Miracle Morning world. And now it's just a beautiful offering for those who are looking to create a structured morning routine and really shift their subconscious thinking and elevate their environments in the process.
What an incredibly enriching, amazing thing for a family to do together. And the illustrations are absolutely gorgeous. Just get a copy. It is just beautiful. It's just a stunning. The intent behind that book is what is truly profoundly beautiful. So that is, to me, just being able to do that with your family as adults, doing it with your partner, coloring in, it's a beautiful activity. Brianna, one last question for you. If you could share one last deeply meaningful message with the world, what would be on your heart to share?
Keep shining. The world needs your light. And that is my favorite sentence, reminder, because we all need that reminder on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. Every single person who's listening to this has so much value to add. And if we only remembered to keep shining, because somebody needs our light, it could activate us stepping forth into who we really are and how we're meant to show up as the beautiful beacons of light that we are.
Wow. Thank you for shining your beautiful, beautiful bright light. It's been such an inspiration in this last hour. The hour went so quickly. I can't believe it's already gone. Thank you for being such a bright beacon of light, shining so brightly on our planet, Brianna, in spite of everything that you've been through. The fact that you've said, I wouldn't change it. And what you're doing, for who you are, for who you choose to become every single day. Thank you. You're just this beaming, shining light and love, and it's we're literally on opposite sides of this planet, and yet I feel so connected with you right now. So lots and lots of love, and I know you've got amazing things that you're still going to be doing over the next few decades on this planet, and I can't wait to continue to witness what it is that you're going to do. So thank you for your light. And to every single one of you watching and listening, there is there's not much more that I can add to this beautiful show. Shine your bright light. Just as Brianna has gone from deflector to determinator of her future, of every moment. She actually is a determinator of every single moment, even in the tough ones. We can be that too. So choose to be the determinator of your life, where you're taking it, your light, and shine brightly because the world needs your light. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, lots of love. Thank you, Brianna.